How responsible are your children with money? This is a reflection of us as parents. And these younger generations are suffering right now. They're suffering because of limitations that they have on opportunity. They've been raised to consume at such an aggressive level that they are avoiding the reality of their debt as we head into one of the most epic unraveling of our current economy, both local, domestic, and international. And it's coming. I have a great story out of Wall Street Journal today. Young people avoid facing their finances more than ever right now. Young people. So this is referring to Gen X and Gen Z. Or sorry, not Gen X, millennials and Gen Z. We're part of Gen X, and these kids are responsible for our future too. If you think Social Security is going to protect you, wake up. It's time for us to start looking past where we are today and into what we can do right now that will help prepare a blessing for our family and a protection and a shield. Many young adults are overwhelmed by financial stress, and they cope by ignoring the problem. Their coping mechanism is ignoring it. Right now, this is what we're teaching our young people to do, is to cope by sticking their head in the sand. And this is our generation too, Gen X. We're quite responsible for this as well. Some tune out bank and credit card balances, lose track of their spending, and rack up debt. The average credit card debt rose 29% in March. A year earlier for millennials, it increased by 40%. Younger people were also more likely to have paid late fees or taken advances. So they're more likely to be paying late fees because they're just not on time. They really don't care. Their credit card interest rates are out of control high. Never pay it back. It's absolutely lascivious. And these credit card companies that are doing this to our younger generation, they're screwing themselves too. They really are. Because credit, if taught how to manage it, and I've been boogered up with it in the past. So I know how this goes. And that's why my heart breaks and why I'm training my children up in a way that they should go that's different and showing them an example that's different. The pandemic, psychologists call these behaviors financial avoidance and say it is a typical habit of young people in every era. And I understand that. I walked on a college campus and I got a credit card that said Major League Baseball on it. It was an MLB, and I was a baseball fan. I was like, oh, that's cool. I'll take a baseball credit card. And boy, did that slowly suck me into a situation that I too understand financial avoidance. I understood what that was like. I legitimately know exactly what these kids are going through, and they're experiencing it at an even greater rate right now. If you have young people in your family, that Gen Z millennial, coach them, help them, open their eyes to what things that they should be focusing on. Avoidance or financial avoidance is a common coping mechanism for mechanisms for all anxiety. So they're just talking about avoidance. This one is financial avoidance. Yet avoidance in general, they say, is a coping mechanism for all forms of anxiety. So these kids are having financial anxiety and they're just forgetting about it. And the wave of bankruptcies that our youth is going to be experiencing here in the next handful of years is going to be catastrophic. It's going to push their opportunities to purchase homes and to make retirement investments and think about their future. They're going to be more dependent. It's tough for me to swallow right now that it still happens this way. And I'm totally have my phone on a selfie stick and it's a paint stick and it's super heavy. Okay, let's read on. Someone with anxiety would avoid parties. Someone with fear of heights would avoid getting on a plane. True. Somebody with food aversions will avoid certain foods. I don't like raw tomatoes. I love tomatoes and ketchup and salsas and sauces, yet you stick a big beefsteak tomato in my face and say, take a bite. I have anxiety over that. I might gag myself. So a little something about the Shielded Prepper. Hey, if you guys haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and send this to somebody who should hear this right now. If you've got a young person, send it to them. And young person, if you hear this, be encouraged. It can change for you. It's a simple reshift of how we look at money, and it is more uncomfortable. It is the path less traveled. It's the path less traveled. For wide is the path and wide is the gate that leads to destruction. And we know debtors become slave to the lender. We have a lot of slaves right now in this world. And the disparity between the two, or the extremes between the two, is increasing. It's not decreasing. And it's only going to increase. And while we are in the middle of this economy still going, we aren't quite sure what's going to happen in the next year or two. Now is the time for our families to be getting prepared and for us to start looking at debt as a fire. It's a fire right now, and it's raging. And if you don't put that fire out, you're going to goof yourself up. You're going to goof yourself up. You guys okay with me walking around on the property today? I think that's great. And it ends on that, they said 83% of adults reported stress from inflation. And how do you avoid, if you're stressing about it and you have anxiety about it, well, you have avoidance mechanisms that you put in play. And this young man, let's see if I can get this for you. Nice looking kid too. This young man, he's in college. Can you see this guy? See all those on the table? He owns 15 pairs of Crocs. While he was in college, and I totally feel for him, I really do. While he was in college, pandemic hits. He's renting an apartment with two of his other buddies. All of his classes are now online. That financial anxiety comes, and he said, I stopped cooking for myself. I started just ordering DoorDash and Uber Eats or whatever. And he says, I started spending money online, and I started collecting Crocs. He collects Crocs. And I'm like, man, of all the stuff to collect, go. But maybe I have some of those things. Don't ask my wife. Yet he was talking about the fact that this was his coping mechanism, was to spend. And he didn't even know what his balance was. His father, who was a co-signer on this credit card, had to call him and say, dude, you're at 90% of your limit. And he just hadn't faced it. He had access to it all, yet hadn't faced it. This is a problem. These kids are super important, and our world requires our youth to be participators, not observers. They have to be laborers and skilled people, and we have to be expanding. Lucy. That's Lucy. She's pooping. I'll leave her alone. She's a good girl. Friendly cow. Allow your family to be priority number one. Give yourself permission. If you've got young adults in your family, be comfortable asking them about their finances. Right now, be comfortable. Help them. This is going to shield your family. This is going to give you a physical shield, because as trauma builds, it's the ones that are silent that oftentimes are suffering the worst. So triage the situation, and don't look for the ones screaming and being obnoxious and complaining about who's on Bud Light cans. Stop drinking in general. I'll remind myself that. And triage the situation. If you've got young people, young adults in your family, and you know they're being pretty quiet about it, ask them. Triage the situation. They may be secretly suffering, and this will bless you. Guys, have a great day. It's been awesome. The Shielded Prepper's out.